I truly appreciate it. I genuinely do. And it means a lot to me that you hold my opinion on these guns in such high regard. And I will say this, I can't promise that I will substantially change the percentage of more affordable guns that I do videos on compared to the more expensive ones. But I will say this, I will do my best to keep it top of mind to do guns that I think people who are looking for something on the more affordable side would want to see. So, this episode of the Colion Noir podcast is brought to you by Vetter Holsters. All right, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Colion Noir podcast. And today we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. Because I get this question a lot. And I figured it's time I answered it. And that question is, why don't I ever do videos on affordable guns? Well, because I hate cheap guns. No, I'm just playing. Actually, I don't think that's a very fair question to ask me. I've been making videos for a very long time, and I've done videos on a lot of guns. And I feel like I have represented the affordable side of firearms enough where that question is not fair. Now, I may just be in my feelings about it, but I genuinely do believe that I do touch on all ends of the spectrum when it comes to the gun videos that I do. Now, however, I will say this. I am not apologetic in the slightest bit when it comes to my natural taste for things. I've always been known for being a bit bougie. I've always liked the finer things in life. I've always liked nice things. If you go to my very first video that I've ever put up on YouTube, it was adorned with nice shit, at least what I thought was nice at the time, at least what I thought was, what I can afford within the parameters of my monetary situation. I bought the best of, or the nicest of what I could afford at the time. So I never really I never shied away from the idea of liking nice stuff or liking expensive stuff. I always have. I've been like that with clothes, shoes, cars, guns, electronics, you name it. I'm a consumer. I'm the ultimate consumer. I'm the type of person that loves to be sold. I've walked into stores and literally have told the clerk, sell me this. Sell me. All right, so I've got to give a quick shout out to Vetter Holsters. They're now sponsoring the podcast. I've been using their LightTuck Kydex inside the waistband holster, and what I really like is how adjustable it is. You can tweak the ride height and cant to get it exactly how you want. Plus, they've got holsters for over 450 gun models in 75 different colors, so you can pretty much find whatever you need. But here's the thing that really sets them apart, their customer service. I've heard so many stories about how they've gone above and beyond to make sure you're happy with your holster, and with a lifetime warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee, it's clear they stand behind their products. If you're in the market for a great holster, check them out at betterholsters.com. Now, a lot of times I already know I want it, but I do like to be sold. I do. And I think some people kind of, and I guess you could, to a degree, you could see that in some of my videos, right? Like I talk about guns that I like. And I think I've been on record saying this. Like a lot of people, they're like, you always talk about guns. Like everything gun is the greatest. No, it's not that. I think every gun is the greatest. You got to remember, when I do gun videos, when I'm reviewing a gun, if I'm talking about a gun, I'm talking about that gun within a vacuum. I'm not like, and sometimes the vacuum could be porous. And what I mean by that is, usually I'm looking at the gun in and of itself in its own world. Right? I'm not really comparing it to any other guns unless it's a comparison video. Now, from reference to create context, so forth and so on, sometimes I will poke holes in that vacuum and allow other guns to come into play in terms of points of comparison. But that's just to demonstrate a very specific thing. But just in general, I look at the gun while I'm doing it in a vacuum. And so the enthusiasm and the excitement that I'm having for that gun is genuine in the sense that I'm not comparing it to something else. So when I talk about how great this gun is and it does this and that, I think a lot of people think, well, you said that other gun was great. And, I did. because two things can be true, three things can be true, five things can be true at the same time. But at the same time, in that moment, with me utilizing that gun, I'm saying this is a great gun. And I always preface it, or at least couch it within some context, right? This is a great gun for this. This is why this is a great gun. I'm going to tell you why I think it's great. But for the most part, I'm not doing a video on guns that I don't like. I just don't. I don't think it's necessarily fair. And the reason why I say that is because when somebody who has the size audience that I have, like, I have to be careful in terms of the way I say stuff because it could communicate incorrectly what I'm trying to say. And when it comes to me not liking a gun, I can say I don't like this, and I'll tell you why. But for some reason, it has a bigger effect when you say you don't like something, and it's a very subjective thing. I'm being very subjective if I say I don't like this. Now, I'll talk about aspects of a gun. I'll talk about things on a gun that I don't like, and I'll say things like, oh, I'm not the biggest fan of this, or this could be better to me, or I don't like that, but somebody else may like that, so forth and so on. But I think people expect you to just go out there and just wholesale say, I hate this gun. Like, that's what everybody's waiting for you to do a video on. And it's like, we live in the golden age of firearms. There are very, very, very few just shitty guns out there. And I'm just going to be honest, there are very few that are just crap. And so I've had guns that weren't good from the standpoint that they didn't run. And I'm like, this happened. Like, let's fix this. What's going on here? And then, it gets fixed. Sometimes it doesn't. I just don't do the video because I'm like, I don't like the gun. And I do. And truth be told, when I look to do videos on guns, I'm looking at stuff that I already kind of know I'm going to like anyway. I've been doing this long enough to kind of tell. And then every once in a blue moon, I may get surprised and realize that, like, oh, maybe I didn't like this gun that much. But, excuse me, I always forget to put on my do not disturb. But back to the subject of, shooting cheap guns or affordable guns. Like, why don't you do more affordable guns? Also, you have to understand, like, my thought process and where I come from in terms of the way I look at the world. Like, when I was younger, broke as fuck, didn't have a lot of money, I was always aspirational. That's the thing for me. It was very much like I would look at things I couldn't afford. I would window shop. I remember walking into a BMW. I remember it was BMW in Houston, It was BMW North Houston, I think. I can't remember. I think it was on Southwest side. And I remember walking into BMW, and I had no intention on buying a car at all. Not even a little bit. I didn't have money. But I was obsessed with the M6. Oh, man, I was obsessed with the M6. And it was the B10 one with the bangle butt. I love that car so much. And I remember they had one on the showroom floor, and I walked in there, and I remember sitting in it for at least 30 minutes to an hour. The people there thought I was fucking crazy. I remember sitting there for an hour. I was touching the Alcantara suede lining roof, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, I'm going to own you one day. I'm absolutely going to own you one day. I had no idea how. I was going to own that car. That was a $100,000 car at the time. I had no idea how I was going to own it. I did. I eventually did. And I think I get off on that. I think I've always got off on that. I remember I had, a lot of these references are going to be car references because I'm a big car guy. I remember I had a Galant. I had a tore up Galant. Galant, like, had sun damage on the paint. It was a shitty car. But I remember telling myself, I was washing it. I'm like, why am I washing this car? And, well, no, I was going to wash it because it was dirty, but my partner was like, it's a shitty car. Why would I bother washing it? And then I remember telling myself, I remember hearing something. I remember it was a video. Couldn't remember exactly who it was from. But I remember hearing a guy say something to the effects of, I had a shitty car once and I drove it like it was a Ferrari until I got a Ferrari. And I remember that just like delving deep, 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 deep into my psyche. I don't know what it was about that. It just planted itself deep in my psyche. And that's kind of the way I looked at the world at that point. Everything for me is aspirational. If I'm somewhere and someone has something better than me, I look at that and I use that as motivation. If that's something I desire, I use it as motivation to get it. When I used to watch car videos, I would watch car videos on cars I never, ever could possibly own, at least at the time. At least I thought that way. But I still would watch it because I still aspired to it. Like I remember when the video on the 177 came out. That's the kind of one of, I think, 77 Aston Martins. It was a very specific one. And I remember watching Jeremy Clarkson talk about that video on Top Gear. And for me, I remember sitting there like, man, I know this car is going to be $1 million car by the time I'm even remotely close to being in a position to possibly own one. And even if I am and have the money to do it, I know it's going to be so limited, I'm probably not going to get my hands on it. But I still watch that video over and over and over again because it was aspirational for me. When I got into guns, I was the same way. The very first gun I ever shot was a cheap gun. Now, there is a distinction between cheap and affordable, right? But I remember it was a Taurus Millennium 10150. It was a little 40. I got a video on it somewhere here. I've done on it. I can't remember. And that gun was shitty. It was small. It kicked like a mule. It was in 40. And it was a cheap gun. But that was the gun that made me fall in love with shooting. So the value of affordable guns is not lost on me. I don't look at it like if a gun is cheap, it's trash. If a gun is expensive, it's good. That's not how I look at it. However, I do have a natural gaze towards more expensive guns. I do, on my personal life, right? Like I remember walking in to a gun store and seeing a Wilson Combat EDC-9 and just saying, I want that gun. And it was expensive, but I bought it. I just bought it. I bought it because I loved the way it looked. I loved the way it felt ergonomically. And I said, that's the gun I want. Same thing when I first got into guns and I started buying my first gun was also an affordable gun. See, there's a difference. So that Taurus I had was cheap and was trash. It worked. So, it still had the value there. It was the catalyst for getting me into shooting. So it had the value there. But objectively, when you look at the gun and compared it to everything that's on the market now, keep in mind that's an old gun they've discontinued. They don't even make it anymore. So yeah, it's a shitty gun. And I remember my very first carry gun was an affordable gun, which was a Ruger SR40, because it was the gun, and I spent hours and hours and hours researching to find the very first gun that I ever wanted to buy. And for me, I didn't have a lot of money, but I wanted to afford the best gun that I could afford within that dollar range. And I bought the SR40, and I love that gun. I absolutely loved it. And I honestly think it's one of the most underrated series of guns that has ever existed, and I don't know why Ruger has discontinued it. I think they should bring it back. And the reason why I bought the Ruger SR40 is because I felt it was a gun that punched way above its class. The Ruger SR40 was an affordable gun. I think it was like $300 some. And it punched so much higher than that. To me, the gun visually, because you had the two-tone lower, you had the black lower, and then the stainless steel top, whatever we call it. But it was two-tone, and it looked more expensive than it was. And since that was kind of within the upper limits of the gun that I could afford, I was like this. I want this gun. That's the gun. It's going to be my first gun. Now, I subsequently, each gun after that was like a gradual step up. It was like I went to that, and then I went to a Glock, and then I remember actually it wasn't a gradual step up at all. I immediately jumped to HK. The HK was like the holy grail for me at the time. Like that's the pinnacle, right? And I remember getting a HK USP 9 compact, and at that point I was like, I don't know where to go from here. Kind of. And where I went from there were 1911s. And then I remember I went, and then the first 1911 I ever bought was the Kimber Ultra Raptor. And I remember how beautiful that gun was to me and expensive that gun was to me. So I say all that to say I always have a natural inclination or a natural attraction or affinity to guns that are very that tend to be on the higher end. And I always watched videos on guns that were expensive or not so affordable, so to speak. So my brain doesn't process making videos from the standpoint of, Oh, this gun's more expensive than most of my audience can afford. Therefore, I'm probably not going to do a video on it. And in the opposite end, I don't think, oh, well, this gun is expensive, this gun is cheap, so I don't care about it. So I'm not going to do a video on it. It's whether the gun speaks to me or it doesn't. I don't really care about the price, but I do have a natural tendency towards more expensive things. Now, that being said, there's a bit of I've experienced, like when I look at the comments and I see people say things like, why are you always doing only expensive guns? You never do affordable guns. That's not true. I've done countless videos on affordable guns. But then even when I go back and do videos on more affordable guns, I get the opposite comment. Like, why are you doing a video on this trash? This is a piece of shit. Why would you, of all people, be doing a video on this gun? I'm like, what the fuck? I can't win for losing here, right? But that's why I tell you don't read the comments. But nonetheless, I did. And it perplexed me a little bit. I'm like, well, when I do a cheaper gun or a more affordable gun, it's a problem. When I do a more expensive gun, it's a problem. So I reached a point where I just don't care. I genuinely don't care. I will just do guns. I do videos on guns I want to do videos on. Whether they're cheap, affordable, or not, I just do them. If they're expensive, so be it. I do them. But why wouldn't I? Like, you got to think about it, how like it came up in this. Like, I started off like not able to buy guns. Like, I had to borrow them just to make videos. Like, I remember I was like bouncing from gun store to gun store to gun store all over Houston, looking to just say, hey, I want to do videos on certain guns. I don't have the money to buy them like that, but can I do videos on that? And in return, I can kind of push. This is back when you can push like gun stores on YouTube. You know, I can on the bottom, I'll say, hey, I got this gun from here, so forth. If you want it, you can go take a look at it. And I didn't, and 90% of the people told me fuck off. There was one store, Defensive and Concealed, Jaime, who I will be forever indebted to forever and ever and ever. There are two people who are solely responsible for me being where I am right now when it comes to guns. And that is Jaime and my friend Osa. My friend Osa is the person who took me shooting for the first time. And Jaime was the only person when I was running around and I was a nobody and I was looking to do guns and do videos on guns. He was the only person that said, sure. And he opened up his shop to me. Okay, but Jaime's shop was small. So it wasn't even like he was just getting super expensive guns. Like, I remember the first gun, like I remember the first rifle I ever bought. First rifle I bought was an Arsenal SGL 21 AK. And I remember I had to put that on layaway. Like, I had to put that on layaway. I could have bought a cheaper rifle, but I wanted that one. I wanted that rifle. So I put that on layaway and I made my payments until I got it. So my mindset has always kind of been, like I said, aspirational, or like I still want to look at stuff I can't afford because it's fun to. I enjoy it, right? I like watching videos because watching videos on products is fun to me. It's not just a means to an end. I'm not just watching a review simply to make a determination on what gun I want to buy. I would watch reviews because I enjoyed watching reviews. And I think that's part of the reason why I make the videos the way that I make them now. Like the beauty for me was in the actual creation of the videos itself. Like, I enjoy them. They were a source of entertainment for me. So that's why I get a little kind of confused sometimes where people are like, oh, you're only doing affordables. Now, I know I'm not the only person that people say this about, but I'm now in a position where I can get my hands on guns I could only dream of getting my hands on before. Why would I not do videos on those? And then subsequently can get more and more and more. Like, it to me makes perfect sense why I would do videos on more expensive guns. I'm not saying, like, if I had to do a ratio, I'd say it's about 70-30, maybe 80-20, 70-30. 70-30, I'd say 70-30. But then again, I can't even say that because what's affordable to one person is super expensive to another, and what's super expensive to another is cheap to another. Like, I don't think people understand that, like, my audience has a lot of people with a shit ton of money. And I only know this because I meet them when I'm just out and about and they tell me. And they don't leave comments. They just buy. They watch a video of mine, they see it, they like what I say about it, and they like it, they go buy it. They don't even hesitate. Just like that. So that's why I get a little confused. And it's a lot of people like that. But so that's why I get confused when I hear people say, like, why are you doing a video on a gun that only 1% of your audience can afford? And I'm like, well, there are a lot of those 1%. I don't know what percentage of them make up the entire audience, but there's a lot. And then not only that, then that's not even counting the people who, they may not have a shit ton of money, but they're the type that will say, I'm just going to save up and buy this gun. So therefore, they'll watch the guns that, generally speaking, are not affordable, I guess, in that sense. And then truth be told, a lot of times, not a lot of times, when I do think about the guns that have given me the most problems, they've always been guns on the affordable side of things. Very, very, very rarely am I dealing with higher-end guns that give me problems. It's happened. But I've had guns that were supposed to be these new affordable style of gun. I'm talking in code here because if I say too much, you'll know who I'm talking about. And then the gun just did not work. It didn't work. It seized up on me completely. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to work. And this was a more affordable gun. And that's happened to me numerous times with affordable guns. So on another level, sometimes when I'm going out to go film, it's frustrating because if I do an affordable gun, generally speaking, it's a crapshoot. I'm not gonna say affordable, but let's say the cheaper side. It's a crapshoot because the gun might just not work, and it's a wasted day at that point. So that's the frustration that comes with that, and I don't really get that with more expensive guns. I just don't. It's not a matter of my preference. It's just my experience. I just don't get it. Now I know that just because something is expensive or costs a lot of money, that doesn't mean that it's also going to be dead on reliable. That's not what that means at all. But generally speaking, I think in my experience, I've found that the more affordable guns give me the most problems. But if I did a video saying that, and I'm technically doing that right now, but if I did a video saying that, or did a video trashing a gun, that's another thing. If I did a video on an affordable gun and I said I didn't like it, then it would be nothing but, oh, you only don't like it because it's not super expensive and you're bougie and you only like expensive guns. And I'm like, no, I don't like the gun because of this and this and this and this and this and this and this. So it's a game that I end up having to play that I just stopped playing. I just don't play anymore. And I try playing it. And when I did it, it was all, I got nothing but, why are you talking about this trash ass gun? And then when I did do a video on a gun that was more affordable, and I didn't even say, I found myself being more dishonest, way more dishonest about, if I was going to be dishonest about anything when it comes to my gun videos, it's when I'm doing more affordable guns or on certain affordable guns that I've done. There are a line of affordability, value proposition guns, right? Like your Rugers. And Taurus honestly has stepped up his game quite a bit. I remember when Tauruses were pretty much, people look at them like trash, but Tauruses have honestly stepped up their game quite a bit. And you have companies like Ross Martin, they've done that where they've come out with guns now that they're affordable, but they don't feel affordable. They feel higher end, and they're readily approachable when it comes to price, while still giving you that kind of top end, high end feeling. But there are some, man. I do the video and then I say any little thing about it I don't like. I could say, generally speaking, this is a pretty damn good gun. Is it comparable to other guns? I remember, what video was it? I think it was like this super affordable 2011 style gun. And it was a good gun. Now, there were aspects of it I didn't like. There were aspects of it that were kind of boring to me. But you got to think about it. I'm sitting here playing with guns like this. I'm in the world of 2011. So I'm not going to have the same level of enthusiasm, But I can still sit here and tell you this is a good gun. It ran, it didn't have any problems. Now, I wish it had this or maybe this or something like that, but I understand the price point where this is trying to live. And then I just get nothing but shit in the comments from people who are like, oh, you're just trashing it because it's an affordable gun and not something super high end or fancy. And I'm like, I can't win. So now I just do videos on guns I like. And whether they're cheap, whether they're expensive, it doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna do it, right? But I say all that to say this. I do get it. I do, because I'd be lying to you if I sat here and said I never get frustrated, or I hadn't gotten frustrated before in the past when I would see something I can't afford and it's like, I was like, man, I wish I could afford it, but I can't. And I'm like, part of me wants to be like, I don't want to watch or hear anything about this. And I thought about making doing this particular episode on the podcast for a while. And the irony is, and these podcasts for me are they're really off the cuff. I mean, I have like bullet point notes and shit, but at the same time, and I just came to this just now, like this isn't something I thought about saying before. It just hit me. As much as it frustrates me that people constantly talk about why am I always doing affordable guns and so forth and so on, I'm humbled and I'm honored. And the reason why I say that is because if nobody cared about my opinion, nobody would complain. Like, it just really genuinely hit me. Like, and some of it I think is trolling. I do genuinely think some of it is trolling. But I think a lot of it is like, we like watching your videos. We come here to hear what you think. And when you only do videos on guns, well, when perceptively how they perceive it, I only do guns on guns they can't afford. It kind of sucks because they would love to hear my thoughts on something they can't afford because they value my opinion. And I genuinely appreciate that. Like, that really literally just hit me. Like, in all of my waxing poetic about why I do videos on this gun and that gun, it just, yeah. I genuinely appreciate it. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't even bother leaving a comment. You wouldn't care whether I did a video on $1 million gun, whether I did a video on a $2 gun. You would just go to someone that you wanted to watch. And I appreciate it. Even though it frustrates me, I'll be the first to say it. I'll be honest, it frustrates me. And I think it frustrates me because I'm trying to, when I do my videos, since I do them on guns I like, I want to communicate the joy that I'm getting right then and there to you. So then when I go and I see comments, it's just like, why are you always doing it? That frustrates me, right? Because I want to communicate this, because I know the guns I didn't have access to before and the ones that I have now. So I'm like, shit, I got, oh man. Like when I did I remember, whoa, man, what's the name of that? So there was a gun store in Houston. I'll never forget this. I was looking at one of those SG 550 rifles from SIG, like SIG, not US SIG, but SIG Swiss. And I'll never forget, I remember seeing that beautiful green SG 550 rifle on the wall. It was like $6,000. And I remember looking at that thing and I was like, oh, that's beautiful. But it's $6,000. The idea of paying $6,000 for a gun was just insane to me at the time. And now it's right there. Like I'm looking at it, right? That's like the gun. It's not the exact one, but it's the same. And I have several of them. And do you know how exciting that is to go from wishing about owning a gun that was on the wall in a gun store, and then fast forward, now I can do a video on it and then talk about it in a way that I've never been able to before because I couldn't afford it back. Like, that is the kind of like emotion that goes into kind of making my videos. And I know people sometimes feel like the emotion that I have for these guns is fake. It was forced. It's not. I love shooting. I love shooting. Like Peter will tell you, I'm a videographer. We'll go out some days, and I know I have to get these videos done because I put a certain pressure on myself to get a certain amount of videos done at a certain consistency, a certain time. Like I put that pressure on myself. So we'll go out there and I'm like, I don't want to be out here right now at all. It's hot, it's sticky, it sucks, there's bugs everywhere. I don't feel like being out here. And like I'll show up, he'll see me face run down. He's like, you don't want to be here, do you? I'm like, no, I don't. And after the first shot, because sometimes because sometimes what we do beforehand is we get our like beauty shots first, right? So I'm doing all the sexy hold-ups and all this stuff like that, and then we'll get into the shooting. And in the moment that first shot rings off, every complaint I had disappears. Every complaint. I love what I'm doing in that moment. It still can kind of suck, especially like when it's cold outside and like my extremities start going first. They start going numb really quickly. Even when I have gloves on, it sucks. And so I have to kind of fight through that so that I can actually feel what the gun's doing so I can communicate it to you. And after the first shot though, nothing matters. I'm enjoying everything I'm doing right then and there at that moment. I do. Now, there are some times, like some days, our filming days are like literally all day, and then you just hit a wall, and there's nothing you can do. There's no type of excitement or shooting that's going to help you. You're just tired. But for the most part, once that first shot goes off, all my apprehensions about being out there, my desire for not wanting to be out there, all goes away. And I'm like a kid. I'm still like a child. When it comes to this gun shit, I'm like a child. Political stuff I do, the political commentary, things like that, I'm very serious. When the gun stuff is, I'm still a child. That's why you see me laughing and giggling like that in videos when I'm shooting. Because I'm a child I am a firearm child. I look at guns, I still get excited about them. I'm like, ooh, that one here, I'll play with them. Like right now, like I've been on a kick right now about this guy. The Bull Armory Ultralight. Like, I'm like, I think I might start carrying this because this gun shoots so fast and so well and fast. Like, I want to carry it not because I think it's a great carry gun. I want to carry it because it shoots so damn well. I love shooting. And so it's that type of like excitement that I want to communicate in the video. So when I get a gun that tends to be higher priced, and I would normally not be able to get that gun back in the day, I look at them like, yeah, I want to do a video on that one, So I say all that to say this. If it seems like I'm always leaning towards more expensive guns, it's because there's a childish part of me that is still super excited about being able to shoot guns that I at one point thought were unobtainium. And it's hard for me. I still don't think it's a fair assessment that I only do videos on expensive guns. But I understand the complaint now. And I've kind of deduced all of that back throughout this conversation I'm having with y'all right now. I understand it. I do. Now, we all deal with it differently, right? But I think for me, it's a battle. Because if you give me one gun, and I have the option to review or do a video on a gun that is super expensive and has a lot of cool things about it, and then another gun that's very bare bones, more affordable, but it's bare bones, I'm probably going to choose a more expensive gun to do a video on all the time, because remember, making videos for me is fun. It's something I enjoy doing. And it's something that excites me. And I'll be honest that sometimes I have a hard time. Sometimes when you get certain guns that are designed to be very bare bone so that they are more affordable, it's hard for me to talk about them because there isn't much to say. There isn't much to say. Like if you have a gun that is more affordable and and it's a handgun, for instance, okay, I can tell you what options it has, but the shooting character is going to be pretty traditional. It's going to recoil like normal. The trigger is going to be nothing to write home about, but it's not bad. But unless, for instance, sometimes like take this guy, right? The RXM. This RXM is a gun that I put on I call it affordable Glock. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like something more expensive than that. And it's like the experience that you get with it is value-wise is so much higher than the price you actually have to pay for it. So the entry point is very appealing. So that gives me stuff to talk about. But a lot of them more we're gonna learn really like that. But end of the day, I kind of just wanted to broach this topic. I didn't really have a goal in mind in terms of what I wanted to communicate. Like I said, these solo podcasts, in a lot of ways, I kind of use them as therapy, just to talk through shit. And yeah, but for all of you all that watch me, who watch my gun videos, who look to me to help them make decisions about what gun that they want, I truly appreciate it. I genuinely do. And it means a lot to me that you hold my opinion on these guns in such high regard. And I will say this, I can't promise that I will substantially change the percentage of more affordable guns that I do videos on compared to the more expensive ones. But I will say this, I will do my best to keep it top of mind, to do guns that I think people who are looking for something on the more affordable side would want to see. So that is it for another episode of the Colion Noir podcast. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next week.